Fall is just around the corner, and with it, the arrival of migratory birds that pass through our area. Joining us to talk about what we might see is Jack Colcolough. He's an avid birder as well as a columnist for the Hilton Head Island Audubon's Ecobond newsletter. Jack, it's great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Glad to be here.
Let's start first with what we mean by migration. When birds migrate, what is that?
Well, migration is the movement of birds either north or south, spring or fall, depending on the weather they're looking for, the food they're looking for, and so forth. So in spring and fall, like now is fall, we expect birds to be moving from north to south at this point.
Let's talk about some of the rare birds or visitors that come through our area. I know that you've already reported in the September Ecobond that some have been spotted, but what would be some of the birds that we might catch a glimpse of? Well,
I like the warblers. This is the time of year for warblers, and we've had several of those come through our area recently. The blue-winged warbler is one of those. The yellow-breasted chat is another one. They're birds that you don't see. They're called rare because you may only see them once or maybe twice during a given year.
Would these birds be seen high up in the trees, down low, or?
Well, generally, a lot of warblers do hang out in the higher parts of the trees, but you can see them on occasion. Some of them, like the water thrushes, which we get down here, and have seen those have been reported already this year, both in northern and Louisiana. Those hang around the swampy areas and around the water. So you have to look up high and low. Some of the ones that are up high come down low to feed and that kind of thing.
So for the water thrushes, as you mentioned, the northern water thrush and the Louisiana water thrush, better chance of seeing those on the ground, moseying around than up high?
Yes.
Okay. Now, rare birds, we move on from rare to some that are listed as uncommon. What would some of those be, and what does uncommon mean?
Well, uncommon means you may see those birds 3 or 4 times during a year, not very often though. But to answer your question, some of the rare ones we've seen in the warblers, which the warbler season begins in July. We don't see much in July, but by the 1st of August, we were seeing birds this year, and we've seen as many as 15 species already. We see things like the worm-eating warbler, the yellow warbler, the prairie warbler, and I've already mentioned the water thrushes.
Right, and these warblers are really spectacular, Jack. I know until a friend of mine opened my eyes to the fact that they were around, and this is when I was in New England, so now I'm trying to spot them here when they migrate through. You just don't have a clue, I mean, to the beauty and what's really out there.
We had a lark sparrow come through the other day, which is a rare bird. In fact, it was a life bird. The first time you see a bird, you call it a life bird or a lifer. I had one of those come through. We've had common terns, which aren't very common here. They move through. So these are some of the other species. Pectoral sandpiper was reported the other day. These are rare birds, but do come through and are migrants. They just migrate through. They're here for a few days and then gone.
You mentioned that at times you'll see an abundance of a particular bird in an area. I know you mentioned the American redstart, which is absolutely gorgeous, both the male and female. But you said at one point there was like a shower of them all around.
Yeah, they come through in waves like that, and you know, it's hard to believe that you go to a place one day and see 20 and the next day you go back and see 25. You say, well, those are the same birds, but all the experts say if you take these and you actually band them and so forth, and they go through those kind of studies, that those birds are different than the birds you saw yesterday. So they tend to flock together. They tend to fly at night. They come in during the daytime and feed, and then they're off to the races again the next night.
About until what date will we have a chance of seeing some of these migratory birds?
Well, they should be right from right now on up to the mid-October.
Okay.
Second to third week, all of a sudden it goes from feast to famine.
Feast to famine. We're not looking forward to the famine type. But I know you've got some great resources or a web address for people that maybe are new to this or thinking for the long Labor Day weekend. Maybe I'll give this a try. First of all, there's a guide or booklet people can get, right?
Yes, I have this guide. It's called the Birder's Guide of Hilton Head Island. It's put out by the Hilton Head Audubon Society. It's a great booklet for newcomers or visitors to the island, newcomers to birding. It tells you the places to go, how to get there, even specific instructions. And at the rear of it, we have a checklist of all birds seen here, and which shows you the abundance of birds and whether they're winter, summer, or migrant birds.
And what about the Yahoo information that you wanted to give folks?
Oh, I have a bird site that's called Birding Friends, and you can subscribe to it by going to birdingfriends@yahoogroups.com. And we have probably 100 members. It's not a big listserv, but it is we report most of our birds around here, and it's just communication between peoples like a listserv is, and we enjoy exchanging the bird sightings that we see. And in fact, the Audubon or the Ecobon newsletter actually tells you how to get there and how to sign on to it.
It's great information, Jack. And finally, before we let you go, I know there's some work being done by the Hilton Head Audubon with regards to Fish Hall Creek area. Tell us about that.
Yes, we're trying to make we call it the Mud Flats of Port Royal Sound, but it's better known as Fish Hall Creek or Fish Hall Creek Park. The beach area out there is a tremendous place for birds, and you have to collect data for a period of about 2 years we're trying to make this area an important birding area, or important bird area, I should say. And that means that it's an area that people would note around the state. There's around 40 sites around the state that have this designation. One of them is Pinckney Island Wildlife Reserve, and also Sea Pines. They're the only two on the island. And we would like, and this place should have been one a long time ago, because we get 1,000 to 5,000 birds if you go out there anytime during the winter. Always try to go 2 hours before or 2 hours after high tide. That's when they're there. Otherwise, they scatter. So you get out there that period of time and you'll see birds everywhere. Take your scope and binoculars. You'll have a lot of looking to do.
Well, Jack Colcolough, I really appreciate your information that you've provided us with regards to birding around Hilton Head Island and beyond. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
That's it for this edition of the Low Country Report. I'm Allie McNair. Thanks for watching. We'll see you the next time.